And welcome to Hero Power. I'm your host, Avanties, and as always, I'm joined by my co host, Zerotio.
What is up, gang? We are on the precipice of year of the what is it, Griffin,
You're the Griffin,
and
that's
the
right.
new set Forged in the Barrens, and the new core set, which I can't help but hear corset. Like what ladies wear under their dress, or you know, yeah.
You've been to a
Is it just me?
convention. You've been to a
Yeah,
convention. You know not all ladies wear it.
I just keep hearing all these other podcasts talking about the Hearthstone corset, and I'm like, what? What is Hearthstone wearing? So yeah,
Hearthstone's.
nobody else
Yeah,
shared that.
so that's right.
I thought,
Today we're going to talk about Hearthstone's new corset.
yeah. So I shared that in our Discord that you can be part of if you go to over to patreon.com/hero power, and Mad at Arms was like, I'm not the only one that's been thinking that. I was like, yeah. Every time I hear it, I think corset instead of core set.
Yeah, yeah. So, all
But
right.
that's what we're going to be talking about this week. So
That's right,
before
yeah.
we get to that, how's your week been?
Oh.
Yeah, I
So
know.
it's been a long week for me. I talked to you guys last week about our going out of town trip and all the fun we had. And well, this week Monday we got a phone call. Wife had to go to the hospital. She got checked into the ER. She was there for 4 days. Got to come home Thursday afternoon, thankfully. So yeah, I have not done anything in Hearthstone. In fact, I think I logged in Wednesday and knocked out my dailies, and then I don't think I've been back in since. So I need to log in today after we do the show, knock out my dailies and my weeklies, and get ready for tomorrow because reset and I'm farming gold for the new set. However, I have accumulated enough Google Play balance to buy the mega bundle, so I will be picking
Nice.
that up this week. I'm
That's
excited about
cool.
that. Yeah, every time I go to the store, I slip one of these into the shopping cart,
Oh
unbeknownst to my
yeah.
wife, and pick one up and add it a little bit over time, and
I do that every now and then for other games that I use Google Play for.
So
But yeah.
here's a trick for those of you who aren't maybe don't know, but uh, gift cards at Kroger's earn you fuel points.
Hmm.
Every so often, they have 4 times fuel points events on gift cards. So if you're buying Google Play or iTunes credit that you're going to later use to buy a Hearthstone expansion, you can be saving money on gas at the Kroger fuel pumps.
Yeah. See, that's what I do for Speedway. Speedway
Mm-hmm.
has like certain months you pick your perks, and there's perks on gift cards, and you can get Google Play cards and get extra points towards your fuel points. So
Yeah, yeah. So
ultimately saves you money.
not only am I slowly accumulating the funds needed to buy the expansion instead of paying for it all at once, I'm also saving money on gas. So it's a
And
win-win.
this man here, Avantes, is crazy about saving gas. I'll see him on Facebook post a picture that he's paying like 13 cents a gallon because he's stacked up
Oh yeah.
reward top on top of rewards. So
I've got 70 cents off a gallon right now that I'm saving up. So,
that's crazy. But
but how
me,
was your
I
week?
I think I'm up to like level 189 on the rewards track. So I was worried about not about capping it out, which I don't think I will because but I have lots of gold, so I'm happy about that. I'm kind of just doing my dailies because uh, my wife and I got a game called Valheim, and we've been playing that together. And
Welcome to the party, sir.
right now is a good time to play games with my wife because we have fun. We enjoy each other's company, obviously. And right now, there's no new content for Hearthstone other than what they're announcing. There's nothing in client. So right now is usually when I kind of do things like that, spend time with my wife. We just had our anniversary, her birthday's coming up, things like that. But then when the new set drops, it'll be back to Hearthstone again. So this is kind of my downtime.
What I'm gonna just throw this out there because I also have been playing Valheim
Okay.
along with some other people. I want to throw this out there. If there's any interest in starting our own private server for Valheim with listeners or other Hearthstone players or people who just want to hang out, hit me up. Hit me up on Twitter at HeroPower_cast or at Avanties, or send us an email at HeroPowerPodcast at gmail.com. We would like to know if anybody else out there listening is playing Valheim right now and would be interested in starting a private server.
And just so you're aware, if you have started Valheim and you've been working on your character, and you're like, I don't want to start over. You can, when you join another server, you take your whole character, so you get all your skills, any gear you have on you, everything. So it isn't like starting all over again.
Yep. Alrighty, so that caps our week in Hearthstone. We are going to be talking about the core set this week, and next week I think we'll pretty much start our Forged in the Barrens talk. Is that right?
Yeah, so don't expect any play portions for the next few weeks as we're getting cards trickled out. They haven't given an official reveal schedule for Forged in the Barrens yet. It's still blank. But we're suspecting, since the core set dropped this past Thursday, that they will start trickling out cards this week. And if that's the case for Forged in the Barrens next week, our play portion will be talking about whatever cards they reveal this coming week. And if there are no reveals for Forged in the Barrens, we'll go ahead and pick a deck to play.
Yep. All right. Well, that brings us to this week's Tavern Brawl, which was Cart Crash at the Crossroads. So it was an interesting brawl for me. I picked Hunter as my primary class, and then picked Druid as my secondary class. Turn one, I played a Gibberling. Then my opponent went, and then I played a Secret, which doubled my Gibberling, and turn three, I played Power of the Wild to give all my Gibberlings +1, and my opponent conceded on turn three.
Yeah, I had a Warlock quest, so I picked Warlock, and then ended up picking Priest. Both me and my opponent both picked Priest. And I curved out great. I had a play on 1, I had a play on 2, I had a play on 3. My opponent didn't have a play on any of those turns and conceded on my turn 3. So yeah, it was a one and done, which I'm glad.
Yeah, me too.
This is a repeat of a repeat. This is like their go-to Tavern Brawl.
Tavern Brawl,
yeah. Whenever they're literally they're working on so many other things that they don't have time to bother themselves with the brawl that might glitch out or anything like that. They just toss any of the Crossroads ones, especially Cart Crash. And this usually means we're going to start seeing a ramp up in reveals and things like that, this makes sense about now. So I'm okay with this Tavern Brawl pretty much being a one and done.
Yep. All right, well, that's it for us this week. Great show. If you're now that is it for the news this week. Unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot other than the core set reveal, which happened this past Thursday, that we're going to talk about a little more in depth now. So if you are joining us on the audio, we are going to break down the core set now. If you are joining us on the video cast, we will have the cards pulled up here on screen for you guys to see. Zerotio spent most of his week creating this awesome spreadsheet, or this awesome slideshow for us, to where we're going to be able to break all of this down for you guys.
This so a little bit behind the curtain, seeing how the sausage is made. Um, Most of my slideshows take me 30, 40 minutes because they're all the same size cards. I just default format, copy, paste, and just copy in the images. Boom, 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 line them up, done. This one took me about 6.5 hours because there's so many cards and different ways to that we're going to be talking about the cards. So you'll see as we go through. Now, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about all 235 cards. It's going to take us a little bit, but that's fine. Bear with us. Uh, and we're going to, but what we're not going to talk about, we're not going to break down which cards are coming from Wild. We're just going to tell you if they're going to be in Core Set, if they're unchanged from their either Wild format or standard card that they were. We'll tell you that, and we'll go through those list of cards, and then we'll break down the ones that changed and what the changes are, and then finally we're gonna break down what classes are new.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're gonna hear some that are new that also have the same similar name as another card, and we'll talk more about that later. But a lot of these are new versions, especially the dragons, and the old version is gonna go straight into Wild. So you could technically play both, like we talked about last week, both Malagoses or both Deathwings, the neutral Deathwings, in one deck in Wild. So that's pretty much the breakdown, and let's get started. We're going to go by class, starting with Demon Hunter.
All right. So first up, we have Unchanged Demon Hunter cards. These include I-Beam. Now, it is important to note that I-Beam has had the new fail keyword added to it as a spell.
You're going to see a lot of that because they added it to a ton of cards, including wild cards.
Yeah. Then we have Sightless Watcher remains unchanged. Raging Fell Screamer remains unchanged. And Feast of Souls has had the Shadow class added to it.
Yeah, the Feast of Souls is the only one to note here because I'll be honest, I did not even know this was a card.
Yeah.
Until I was like, oh, it's a new card, and I did this check balance thing where I looked on the website, I typed it in, and if it pulled 2 copies of, that meant it was either unchanged or changed. If it only pulled 1 copy, it was a new card. And I was like, what? Wait, this card existed before? I didn't even know it.
All right. Also unchanged in Demon Hunter, we have the Battle Fiend, the Crimson Sigil Runner, Chaos Strike, Spectral Sight, Aldraki Warblades, Coordinated Strike, Ashtongue Battlelord, and Chaos Nova. Of course, Chaos Nova and Chaos Strike both have had the fail keyword added to them. All right. Getting into the changed Demon Hunter cards, we have the Warglaves of Azeroth. So you guys remember these weapons. They were a 6-mana 3/4. After attacking a minion, your hero may attack again. Well, the new change to this is they've reduced the casting cost by the mana cost by 1, and they've reduced the durability of the weapon by 1. How do you think this is going to affect this weapon, Zerotio?
So when it comes to curves and throwing in other buffs to your attack and things like that, and other minions to couple this, 5 mana is a little easier to stomach on a weapon. I think, we've seen that before with big weapons before, especially in Warrior. And once you get above 5 mana, it really should be an awesome weapon. And this kind of missed the mark. You can attack again after attacking a minion, but at the same time you're taking that face damage. And 1 mana for 1 durability is a 5 mana 3/3 weapon still playable, especially in a class that can buff up the attack? Maybe. I still think this is probably a little too slow. I would have liked to seen it be a 5 mana 4/3.
Okay.
Flip the attack and the durability.
Yeah.
But it again, all these cards are core set cards, so they're designed you put them in your deck as a base, and then you upgrade them
around it.
To some other card that's come out newer.
Yeah.
So a lot of us older players aren't going to play with a lot of these core set cards. But if you're a newer player, this may be the perfect weapon for you.
All right, now we have some new Demon Hunter cards that are new to Core Set and Standard. First up, we have Corvus Bloodthorn. He's a 2-mana, 2/3, charge, lifesteal. After you play a card with Outcast, return this to your hand.
They printed a new charge card.
Yes, they did.
Now, it is to note that Kane Sunfury is no longer in Standard. It's not in the Core Set or
right. He's going to be wild. Yeah.
So basically, you could say they took out one charge minion for another charge minion. This one is a little more flexible. Yeah, you're going to have to deal with Taunt now as a Demon Hunter instead of playing Kane in your deck. But with Corvus, you kind of have that lifesteal gain again. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of offset the damage you've taken with your face with some lifesteal. And if you follow this up with that Outcast card, it goes back to your hand. You can play it again next turn.
Right. Yeah,
also,
I like this.
Il'gynoth is still in the meta. So this could be an extra 4 damage, the 2 damage from the attack, and then the lifesteal will do 2 more damage with Il'gynoth in play. So maybe there's something with that. I like this.
Yeah.
It's the type of card I want Demon Hunter to have.
Yeah, I like it too. Next up, we have the Illidari Inquisitor. So it's an 8-mana, 8/8, which fits in with all the other giants and things that we've seen in the game. This has Rush. After your hero attacks an enemy, this attacks it too.
Yes.
So if you swing face, this is going to go face. Yeah.
So it's an 8 attack or an 8 cost removal card that then can go face. Now, at first I was like, wow, why would they print something this strong that's just straight 8 face damage if you can attack face? And then I remembered what card rotated out that this kind of replaced. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was the 8-mana spell that gave your hero 8 extra attack. Okay. So that's gone, and this is kind of in its place. So it's removed. It basically it says if that spell was able to also clear a minion and put a 8x minion in play. Mm-hmm. So it's a big buff in my opinion. You're always going to have to watch out for this because for 9 mana they can clear a taunt minion and then do 9 damage to your face.
Yeah.
Now it's important to note that Demon Hunter now has to deal with taunt minions because they don't have Kane.
That's true. So you might have to use this to clear a taunt.
Exactly.
But then if you clear the taunt first with the rush and then you swing face with your hero, this will then attack face if it survived clearing the taunt.
Yep.
Okay, next up we have Gnarg Glavesmith. So this is a 3/2 demon for 3 mana. Outcast. Give your hero +3 attack this turn.
I like this. I don't know what the new set Barons is going to have for Demon Hunter because a lot of times we base off the flavor of that, Warcraft expansion, and Demon Hunters didn't exist in the Barons back in those days. So we don't really know what we're going to get for Demon Hunter in Barons. So I'm excited to see if we can have a small demon package, like I say small as in cost, maybe 5 cost and less demons, and be able to just start churning through our hand because we want to churn through our hand because we want this to go into Outcast position. So we don't want a lot of expensive stuff in that deck.
Right.
And I think this would be a phase strategy.
Okay. Next up, we are looking at the Druid class. Mm-hmm. So first up, we have the Unchanged Druid cards. We still have Cenarius as the legendary. Then we have Ancient of War. Force of Nature is back unchanged, except it's had the Nature tag added to it. Nourish is back with the Nature tag. And Innervate is back with the Nature tag.
Anything here surprise you?
I mean, it's kind of interesting to see Force of Nature still here, especially since, we're getting the new classic format where it will be returned to its summon 3 with charge.
I'm surprised by Ancient War because it's not played, and Innervate. I really did not expect them to keep Innervate in Druid.
Well, I tell you what, I like having Innervate because it works with some of the spell burst that's in standard right now.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it does.
but okay, moving on to other unchanged Druid minions. We have the Enchanted Raven back again. We have Pounce, Power of the Wild, Feral Rage, Landscaping, Wild Growth, and Soul of the Forest. So I like seeing landscaping back with Force of Nature. That tells me they're still looking at Druid being a Trent generating machine.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, and I like seeing Wild Growth there too, because ramp is still going to be a thing for Druid.
Yeah,
and I think it'll be needed with kind of the power creep that's happened with the sets in the past.
yeah. So now we're looking at changed Druid cards. So first up, Mark of the Wild. You guys remember it was a 2 mana, give a minion taunt and +2/+2. Well, now it's still a 2 mana, give a minion taunt and +2/+3.
Yeah, this is good for maybe tempo based mid range. Maybe even a token based strategy where you want to beef up one minion but protect all the little 1/1s that are next to it. So, good change.
Yeah. Now, is it just the image that's changed, or are they actually? I guess it's going from it was a basic card to now it's going to be a rare card. Is that correct?
Yeah. So before it was basic. So because the core set really, in my opinion, doesn't need rarities, but I'm guessing just for balance sake that it has so many rares, so many commons, so many epics, they assign this a rare quality. I don't think it really matters since everybody's going to get these for free.
Right. Okay. Then we have Druid of the Claw, which was a 5 mana 4/4, choose one, transform into a 4/4 with charge or a 4/6 taunt. It's getting a little bit of a buff, and it's going to be a 5 mana 5/4, choose one, transform into a 5/4 with rush, or a 5/6 with taunt.
So this kind of just balances out that 5 mana curve because a lot of the things on 5 mana have 5 health.
Right.
So this contests.
It does, and it no longer charges.
Nope.
So, but
you're going to see that common across the board. A lot of charges turned into rush.
Yeah. And then we have the Menagerie Warden, which we talked about on the show last week. It was a 6 mana 5/5. Choose a friendly beast, summon a copy of it. It's now going to be a 5 mana 4/4. Choose a friendly beast, summon a copy of it. So, all right. Then we have a new Druid minion. It is a rare, the Nordrassil Druid. It's a 4 mana 3/5 battle cry. The next spell you cast this turn costs 3 less.
So I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'm guessing if you're going to play a spell that costs 3 or more, this essentially makes this a 1 mana 3/5.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to put it in a very spell heavy token Druid that uses a lot of spells to summon minions or buff minions, maybe this just goes in there as just a 3/5 that is hard to deal with and can then get a lot of buffs and keep going face.
Okay.
I don't know of another strategy beyond that because it says this turn.
Right.
It's not like you can discount it for your next turn.
Right.
So it's not like a combo activator or anything.
Okay. Next up, we have the Hunter class, and we are looking at Unchanged Hunter cards. So first up, we have good old King Crush, back with a vengeance. We have Snake Trap, Savannah Highmane, and Arcane Shot, all coming back, remaining unchanged. Anything there surprise you?
So I think they missed a chance because I think King Crush is good, but he's not phenomenal. And I would have loved to seen King Crush get rotated out and them literally change Savannah Jaime to a legendary and adjust the stats and death rattle accordingly,
Are
just
are
to
you
kind of
are you surprised
fill that
Crush?
me.
As I say, are you surprised Crush still has charge and not Rush?
I kind of am, but at the same time, they've been printing a lot of cards in this past year, in year of the where were we at Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of leans towards wanting you to cheat out a Crush and then copy it and all this kind of stuff, and then have be like this OTK or finisher in a control style hunter. And if they changed it to Rush, it invalidates all that work they've done. I think maybe next year they'll think about getting rid of Crush or changing it to Rush. But I think right now they want people to experiment with that deck, which nobody really has. Nobody has publicly, at least. Uh, and maybe they're wanting to print tools and barons that will foster that kind of an OTK, not maybe not an OTK, but more of a control based strategy that then has a finisher, which
Okay.
is what they've talked about. They don't want control decks just to be fatigue decks. They want a control deck to have a clear finishing win condition, and maybe King Crush plugs into that.
Okay. Next up, remaining unchanged in the hunter class, we have Web Spinner, which is the 1 mana
Mm.
1/1 add a random beast death rattle. We have Explosive Trap, Freezing Trap, Headhunter's Hatchet, Quick Shot, Scavenging Hyena, the good old Bear Shark. I love that card.
Yes.
Deadly Shot, and Dire Frenzy.
So out of all the cards that got some wild cards rotated in and didn't change anything about them, I
Mm-hmm.
think Hunter excites me the most because they're putting in the core set some really good beast synergy stuff. And you haven't been able to play a good beast synergy deck in years, because a lot of that stuff was around set cards like Web Spinner and Bear Shark and Headhunter's Hatchet. So I'm excited to see Hunter go back to the old school mid range because it was literally you had Highlander, you had aggro, and that was it. And Highlander was kind of it was either aggressive or more tempo-y. My favorite was back in vanilla Hearthstone when you just played mid-range Hunter, and it was just a good deck all the time to play. It was like either very bottom of tier one or very top of tier two, and if you didn't know what to play, you just played either Zoo or mid-range Hunter, and you did well.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right. Next up, we're looking at the changed hunter cards. So first up,
Yes.
we have Lock and Load. I loved this card when it was in standard years ago, and I'm enjoying that it's going to be back. So, if you're not familiar with Lock and Load, it was an epic hunter spell that costs 2 mana. Each time you cast a spell this turn, add a random hunter card to your hand. Well,
Yeah.
now it's 1 mana epic hunter spell. Each time you cast a spell this turn, add a random hunter card to your hand. I'm excited for this. How about you?
So one of the biggest drawbacks of Hunter is they didn't have a lot of ways uh, to draw and generate extra resources. Basically, if you could count all the threats in your hunter opponent's deck and they exhausted them, they lose.
Mm-hmm.
So this allows them last ditch to kind of have some spells in their hand, like the one we're going to be talking about next, as well as a few other spells, and kind of build their hand back up without thinning their deck and drawing their cards.
Okay. Uh, Next we have Unchanged Tracking. So if you guys
This is
remember,
big.
Tracking was a 1 mana spell. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, draw one, and discard the others. Now, Tracking is a 1 mana rare spell. Discover a card from your deck.
Okay, so this is going to be a big point of contention in the community. I'm going to say tracking is good now. And the reason I say it's point of contention is a lot of people will say the original tracking was good, and some are even saying it's better. And the reason it was better is because it thinned your deck. Now, usually the ones that say that the old tracking's better because it thinned your deck are going for some kind of combo or something specific they want to get to. So you want to get the fluff out of your deck. But if you want to play just a good value mid-range to tempo style hunter, this new tracking where you discover a card and then the other two cards still stay in your deck is going to be perfect. So depending what style of play you play, style of game you played in Hunter, you're going to think this is better or worse. Personally, I think it's better with the new change.
Okay. Next, we have a new Hunter card. It is a rare minion, Selective Breeder. It's a 2-mana 1/1 battle cry. Discover a copy of a beast in your deck. I think this is really good because you're building your deck. You're choosing the beasts that go in it. This, if you put 2 copies of, say, Savannah Highmane in it and nothing else, this is going to give you a 3rd copy of Savannah Highmane.
Yeah, I'm wondering what's going to be printed in Barons, and I'm worried this is going to go the old way of Barnes and what was it, Barnes and Yasharaj, where you only put those 2 in there, and your Barnes always got you a Yasharaj. So maybe you only put King Crush, or maybe there's another beast minion that is coming in Barons that you only put that card in there, and then you're guaranteed to discover it, and you still have it in your deck. So if your only beast is a legendary, it's like having 2 legendaries in the deck. Of course, if you draw the legendary first, it kind of shoots the plan. So I want to see more cards, but I think as a core set card, this is a great addition. And I'm surprised they haven't printed a card like this before. At 2 mana, a 1/1 is good balanced stats for the effect that you're getting. And I think it's a good... Now, mind you, you don't have to run 1 beast. You can run 3 beasts and still guarantee to pull the one you want.
Yeah.
Because you discover it. So you're going to see 3 options no matter what. Unless you have less than 3, then you'll see less. But you'll see 3 options. So if you put 3 key beasts and one of them is part of a combo, you're pretty much guaranteed to see it as long as you don't draw it.
Okay. Moving on, we have Unchanged Mage cards. Who besides me is excited that Paveling Book is back?
I am excited that Paveling Book is back. I'm really... I like what they've done with Mage. I know a lot of people don't, and I understand because they've gotten rid of a lot of the freeze mechanics. But I think I think they're looking to change the way Mage is played with Forged in the Barrens and with Year in the Griffin as a whole. And these cards are important to that.
Yeah. So, yes, so we've got Babbling Book. We have Fallen Hero back. We have Counterspell, which has had the Arcane tag added to it. And Water Elemental remains unchanged. Then we have Fireball, which has had the Fire tag. Shooting Star, the Arcane tag. Arcane Intellect, the Arcane tag. Arcanologist is back. Ice Barrier has the Frost tag. And Mirror Entity has the Arcane tag.
So they're kind of fostering a secret strategy with Mage, but not the way... It's not overpowered like it is in Wild. They've taken basically some of the tempo tools from Secret Mage, brought them here, and none of the like bursty damage-based stuff.
Right. Yeah, I'm really excited to see Arcanologist back. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. In the Mage changed cards, we have Koldara Drake. It was a 6-mana 6/6. You can use your hero power any number of times. is now going to be a 6 mana 6/7. You can use your hero power any number of times. So it's getting a little bit of a buff.
A little bit of a buff. This wasn't playable when it was in the cycle, and there were lots of ways to break it, but not in the mage class necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
When you found it off Dragon Discovers, and then could get your hero power to 0, it was damaging base hero power, just silly. I don't think. Again, this is going to be one that depends on what cards are in Year of the Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to see a lot of people play with this because, honestly, even for beginners, it's kind of an advanced level strategy, not a beginner or novice or intermediate level strategy.
Yeah.
To abuse this card, so I like that it's in there. I don't think it'll be very impactful.
Okay. Then you had Flame Strike. So Flame Strike has been in the game since the beginning as a base card. 7 mana, deal 4 damage to all enemy minions. It's now going to be a epic spell, 7 mana, deal 5 damage to all enemy minions. Do you think that's enough of a change?
Yes, and this is why they're kind of going a little more uniform with their damage-based removal. You're going to see a lot of your 7 mana stuff kind of hit that 5.5 health break point. You're going to see your 4 mana stuff hitting a specific break point. And so, once for the same reason that they buffed up the health on Druid of the Claw, because of that break point at 5 mana with minions, it's the same with these removal. On 7, your opponent's board's usually filled with 5 health minion, not 4 health minions. So it was really clunky at 7 mana to try to fit in a hero power or fit in spell damage or anything like that. So I think this is a good change. I don't know if they're going to have any fire-specific spell damage cards. They've already shown nature-specific ones in Barons. So if they do that, this might even be an auto-include if you're looking to deny your opponent a board.
Okay.
I think Flame Strike now at 7. I was hoping they would either do one or two things: change the damage from 4 to higher, or reduce the mana cost. And they chose to do the damage, and I'm fine with that.
Okay. Also in Mage, changed is Snap Freeze. So Snap Freeze was a 2 mana spell, freeze a minion. If it's already frozen, destroy it. That's going to 1 mana, freeze a minion. If it's already frozen, destroy it.
They've gotten rid of a lot of the freeze other than the next card we're going to talk about. So I don't know how good Snap Freeze is going to be.
Yeah, so Cone of Cold. It was a 4 mana, freeze a minion and the minion next to it and deal 1 damage to them. It's now going to be 3 mana, freeze a minion and the minions next to it and deal 1 damage.
Yeah, and with this, we have a lot of really cheap spell damage like Lab Partner and a few others that this could easily go to 2 and 3 damage quickly.
Yeah. Next up, we have Ethereal Conjurer. 5 mana, 6/3, Battle Cry, discover a spell. It's now going to be a 5 mana, 6/4. So it's getting a little buff to the toughness.
Yeah, again, this is just kind of that break point, what you want out of 5 mana. And I love the way you say ethereal. But yeah, that's another point. I like this card. I think it's good as a way to get more spells. And if you're playing a controlling mage and you just want to discover more spells to possibly, this could be a body and give you another piece of removal. And I think it's good.
Okay. Then in new mage cards, we have Egwene the Guardian. I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong. But she's a 5 mana 5/5, spell damage +2, death rattle. The next minion you draw inherits these powers.
So this dies, and the next minion doesn't have to be that turn. It could be a few turns on the line if you keep drawing spells. Will get spell damage +2 and the same death rattle. So what some people are saying is there are some other cards listed later and possibly in the Barons that will let you target draw minions I think there's one later we'll talk about that draws the highest minion in your deck, and if that highest minion just happens to be the circus clown,
Mm-hmm.
and you draw circus clown after this dies, all the copies are gonna have spell damage +2.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you could just burn face with something cheap.
Yeah.
So there is some combo potential in this. We don't know all the cards coming, so we don't know how well. But this is one to put on your radar and look out for ways to abuse it.
Okay. Now we are moving into Paladin.
Yes.
So, Paladin, we have Tyrion Fordring is remaining unchanged. 8 mana,
Yep.
6/6. Death Rattle, equip a 5/3 Ashbringer. Anything?
This is great.
Do you expect anything else?
I was worried they would get rid of him for one of the Ford rings, or not Ford rings, but one of the what is his name? I can't remember now. But horrible Paladin legendaries we've had in the past. I was really scared we wouldn't have Tyrion in Standard anymore, and I'm glad to know we do.
Okay. Then we have the Aldor Peacekeeper. 3 mana, 3/3 Battlecry, change an enemy minions attack to 1. That's also remaining unchanged. That's been a staple in Paladin for so long.
It has. I mean, not so much in more recent years, but if you're a newer player just unlocking the Paladin class, you rely on Aldor Peacekeeper a lot.
All right. Also remaining unchanged. Okay, so I wanted to talk about this a little bit. We have Avenge getting the Holy tag, and then we have Noble Sacrifice, which doesn't have a tag.
Okay.
Which I thought, I mean, I guess it's just you're not actually casting a spell like you are, quote unquote, with Avenge. It's just a dude jumping in front of somebody.
I think that's more the Avenge secret is akin to the effect in World of Warcraft, which I think it's Holy Spec to use it. So it makes sense. It's more flavor. I don't know how it may impact because if you're getting holy spells anyway in Paladin, which we don't know yet, I don't know how many secrets are going to be in that list. So it might just be to kind of make it so you're not getting a high variance of secrets from another effect that gets you holy spells, which could make that effect worse. Because we've seen that before. Anything that gives you even a 1-cost spell, it's not good in Paladin because you're likely just going to get a secret. You might even get 3 options of a secret. It's just not very good. So maybe that was their way of keeping it from being secret heavy in certain discover pools. Maybe.
Okay. Then we had Righteous Protector. Is remaining unchanged and is back. Then
this is amazing. I know we weren't going to talk too much on the Unchanged, but Righteous Protector being in Standard makes that early kind of tempo Paladin good because you can put down a Righteous Protector. They have to deal with the shield. They might be able to deal with it, and then you can put a hero power behind it, and you're going to have minions stay sticky better. And I'm just excited for Righteous Protector being in core because it's going to open up the door for more Paladin archetypes that are minion based and not just spell based.
Yeah. So then we have Blessing of Kings remaining unchanged. Consecration remaining unchanged. It's getting the Holy tag. Then you have True Silver Champion remaining unchanged. And Stand Against Darkness is now going to be in the core set.
Yes. Dudes.
Lots of dudes.
Yep. Lots of dudes.
All right. Then in the changed category, we have Equality, which was 4 mana, change the health of all minions to 1. It's now going to be 3 mana, change the health of all minions to 1. But it's important to note, this card has already been nerfed once, right?
Yeah, so it was 2 mana, and then changed to 4 mana, and now they've come to a gentleman's agreement, and it's 3 mana, which means the combo of Equality Consecration is a 7 mana play. And since they're doing a lot of beefing up of those 7 mana board clears like Flame Strike, this just kind of fits in line with what you want Paladin to do on 7. The fact that it took till turn 8 was bad. I mean, by turn 8, you're probably either dead or doing this won't change the impact. Doing it on 7 might. Now, right now, we're not using it because a Libram of Justice, along with Consecration, kind of is a better equality. But when those kind of rotate out, and if Equality and Consecration stay in core, that might be pivotal to future plans. But then again, Libram Paladin might not be the best Paladin, and if you don't play Librams, you want to be able to put something in that acts as that justice, and equality is perfect.
Okay.
Now, one thing to note, kind of spoiler for later, there is no Wild Pyromancer.
Okay.
So the fact that, and I think they could have went back down to 2 mana, to be honest, but this is probably balanced.
Yeah. Next up, we have a change to Guardian of Kings. So Guardian of Kings was a 7 mana 5/6 battle cry, restore 6 health to your hero. It's now going to be a 7 mana 5/7, so it gets a +1 defense. It also gains taunt.
Yes.
And battle cry, restore 6 health to your hero.
This is better than that Drake that restores 8 health and is a 4/6. I mean, it's a higher mana cost, but it also has taunt. So if you have a Paladin strategy that just needs to stay alive long enough to get kind of your finisher off, maybe you're trying to develop a N'Zoth board, or you're trying to pull off Cthulhu, this is perfect. Because it not only heals you, it then is a wall of health in the way for them to get to you.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the Paladin, continuing on the Paladin changed cards. We have Argent Protector. It was a 2 mana 2/2 battle cry, give a friendly minion Divine Shield. It's now going to be a 2 mana 3/2 battle cry, give a friendly minion Divine Shield. So it gains 1 attack.
Yeah, it's odd that it's an aggressive change. I would have expected it to be more of a defensive change, but this fits, the mana cost nowadays. 2 mana 3/2s with some kind of a one-shot effect like a Divine Shield works. I think it's a good change.
Okay. Then we have Holy Light. So Holy Light was a 2 mana restore 6 health basic card. It's now going to be a rare holy spell, 2 mana, restore 8 health to your hero.
Yeah, so you can't use this to heal a minion anymore, and it just heals your face. So I don't. If it had card draw, maybe it would be better. I don't know. I don't know if I want to take a slot just to prolong the game. I want it if it drew a card or discovered something. I don't know. I think it still falls flat. But again, like I said before, for somebody who's still fleshing out their collection and wants to play Paladin, this is a good sustain card.
Okay. Then we have Warhorse Trainer. So I was excited that this was back. So Warhorse Trainer is a 3 mana 2/4. Your Silverhand recruits have +1 attack. Now it's a 3 mana 3/4. Your Silverhand recruits have +1 attack.
Dudes. They're so
Lots
far
of dudes.
Core Set, they're favoring healing, dudes, and a little bit of secret synergies.
Yeah.
Or secrets, not so much synergies.
All right, so moving on to new Paladin cards. First up, we have a holy epic spell called Reckoning. 1 mana, secret. After an enemy minion deals 3 or more damage, destroy it.
This one is curious for me because it doesn't. It just says after an enemy minion deals 3 or more damage. It doesn't have a like in combat or attacking, or like not an attacking minion or anything like that. So, if say they were playing with a minion that has a battle cry of doing 3 damage,
Mm-hmm.
it does the 3 damage and then it's destroyed, denying the body that comes with the battle cry. And it's also smart to note it still does the damage. So if they attack your face,
You're still going to
and
take
it does
damage.
damage,
And
the
then
minion is
it'll die.
destroyed, but it dies. So this could have anti-synergy with somebody that has like a death rattle effect. Like if the taunt attacked your face and hit you for 8, and then it dies and does 8 more damage and bursts of 2 to you, that's anti-synergy. So there's definitely going to be some knowing when to play this card. But yeah, I like it. I like it. It's a unique secret and another way to pop secrets in Paladin, and that excites me.
Mm-hmm. Then we've got another epic spell. It's from the Holy archetype of Pursuit of Justice. So this is a 2-mana spell. Give +1 attack to Silverhand recruits you summon this game.
Yeah, so this is one you can front load.
Yeah, you play this on curve on turn 2, or even coin it out on turn 1. Every Silverhand recruit you summon for the rest of the game is going to be a 2/1 minion.
Yeah, so you have a hero power that gives you a 2/1 minion, and if you play Lothraxian, you now have a hero power that gives you a 2/1 Divine Shield minion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, and that's also a rest of game effect. So I like the way they're going with this Dude Paladin. I don't think it's enough to make Dude Paladin viable right now out the gate of Barons when Year of the Griffin starts, which leads me to being very excited about what Paladin cards get revealed for Forged in the Barons. Because if they have a lot of dude synergy, Silverhand recruit synergies, that might push this archetype over the top and be able to replace some of the archetypes we're going to be losing.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the priest class. Remaining unchanged, we have Natalie Celine. She was an 8-mana, 8/1 legendary. Battle cry, destroy a minion and gain its health.
Yeah, this was one of the new ones when they reworked Paladin, and I like that they kept it.
Okay. Then we have Shadow Word Ruin, which is remaining unchanged. It gets the Shadow keyword. It's a 4-mana, destroy all minions with 5 or more attack. And we have Koltiran Chaplain, 2-mana, 2/3, remaining unchanged.
Yep.
All right. Also remaining unchanged, we have Flash Heal, Holy Smite, Psychic Conjurer, Shadow Word Death, Holy Nova, Power Infusion, and Temple Enforcer.
Yeah, so we're getting Psychic Conjurer, but we're losing, what is that? It's a 1-mana mind something that gives you a card in their hand.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. So we're losing that, and we're also losing Shadow Word Pain. It's not going to be.
Okay.
But Shadow Word Death is going to be, which is interesting because now, I mean, I guess with Holy Smite you can usually deal with things that have less attack because they also have less health. But yeah, it's interesting that we're going to be losing Shadow Word Pain.
Okay. Now, priest cards that are changed. First up, we have Shadow Form. It was 3-mana epic spell. Your hero power becomes deal 2 damage. If already in Shadow Form, it deals 3 damage. So now it's going to be a Shadow epic spell. It's only going to cost 2 mana instead of 3. Your hero power becomes deal 2 damage.
Now, it's of note that if you play a second copy of this while you're in Shadow Form, it will refresh your hero power, but it will not change it to 3 damage the way the old one did. So it might not be worth running 2 copies in your deck, only 1.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you'll never
exactly.
be able to do more than two with this, even if you play a second one. So I think
Right.
it's a good balance, adjusting the mana cost to account for that.
It's interesting that they would make it to where you don't need a second copy anymore. So now they're
Yeah.
effectively saying this is a one copy card unless you're trying to draw it quickly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's basically a variance thing. The main reason they make legendaries one copy is because it reduces the variance of being able to draw that legendary and pull off that effect. Uh, this doesn't have a big enough effect to be like a legendary spell, but at the same time, it's probably not worth running two copies in your deck.
Mm. Okay, then we have a change to Light Spawn. So Light Spawn was a 4 mana 0/5. This minion's attack is always equal to its health. It's now going to be a 3 mana 0/4. This minion's attack is always equal to its health.
This is kind of in line because they made like I can't remember what it was. It was like a treasure chest that was a 3 mana 0/4, and at the start of your turn, it gained 4 health, 4 attack.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of, with power creep the way it is, it kind of falls in that line. So this is essentially a 3 mana 4/4 that reduces its health as it takes damage, or reduces its attack as it takes damage. So I think this is a good change and will be good for Priest because it looks like Priest is going more minion board based.
Okay. Then we have new priest cards. So first up, we have a rare minion, Crimson Clergy. It's a 1 mana 1/3. After a friendly character is healed, gain +1 attack. This is kind of replacing the Light Warden, right?
Yeah, this is replacing Light Warden. Light Warden's still going to exist in Wild, but it's no longer uh, going to be in Standard. And this kind of fits that slot. And you're going to be healing a lot of your minions in this new kind of priest that I'm seeing kind of get brewed up.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then we have a new rare spell, Focused Wheel. It's a 1 mana, silence a minion, then give it +3 health. So that's an interesting mechanic.
Yeah, there's some neutral minions that would be good if you silence them. Uh, there's a humongous one that's the can't attack minion.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be talking about it later. So silence priest may be a thing again, and we're seeing kind of silence leave a lot of classes, and I think there's only one neutral silence available. So you're getting more silence out of priest, which is probably a class that needs it.
Okay. Then we have a new shadow rare spell, Thrive in the Shadows. 2 mana, discover a spell from your deck.
Yeah, so this is like Shadow Visions, except instead of getting a copy of the spell, you just get the spell. So a lot of people are calling this a worse Shadow Visions,
Mm-hmm.
and essentially it is, but there may be a world where you need to get a specific spell for a specific instance, and being able to discover from your deck it's targeted draw, and targeted draw has always been good.
Yeah. Then we have a new common minion, Shadowed Spirit. 3 mana, 4/3, Death Rattle. Deal 3 damage to the enemy hero.
So, kind of spoiler again, as we're going to get into neutrals later, there is some Death Rattle synergy cards, and this might be able to pop out in that kind of type of deck.
Mm-hmm.
So, and spoiler, Baron Rivendare is in that list. And in a world Baron Rivendare lives in, Shadowed Spirit's gonna be good.
Okay. Next up, we have Rogue class, and they're unchanged cards. We have Preparation, Sinister Strike, and SI7 Agent.
Yeah, this is just Rogue.
Those are classic Rogue cards. They're in
Yeah.
most Rogue decks.
You're probably gonna see some of the least amount of changes in Rogue
Yeah.
because it's always been good and it stays good.
Right. Then also in the unchanged category, we have Backstab, Shadow Step, which is a whole nother issue.
I'm surprised about Shadow Step staying in, but they're
It's
keeping it. That
yeah,
it's
they're
Rogue.
they're fine with it continuing to cause problems in the game. More power to them.
Well, I think they're working on getting rid of the cards that they're broken with Shadow Step.
The
But
problem is they
Shadow Step itself,
remove the cards that are broken with Shadow Step, then they print new broken cards with Shadow Step.
that's a fair statement. I mean, but Shadow Step is iconic for Rogue. I mean, I don't know. I don't. Rogue's my least favorite class, least played class, other than Demon Hunter right now, and but I still couldn't see a world without Shadow Step in Rogue.
So then we have Bladed Cultist, Deadly Poison, Cold Blood, Plague Scientist is back, and Tomb Pillager is back.
Rogue is still going to be strong.
Oh, yeah. So now we're looking at changed Rogue cards. First up, we have the Patient Assassin. This was an epic minion, 2 mana, 1/1, stealth poisonous. It's now going to be a 2 mana, 1/2, stealth poisonous.
The health didn't matter with this card. Nothing really mattered. It just wasn't strong enough to be played.
No. Then we have Sprint. Sprint was a 7 mana, draw 4 cards. It's now going to be a 6 mana, draw 4 cards.
I mean, maybe with Secret Passage, do you even need Sprint? I'd say no.
That's a fair statement. Of course, Secret. If you're trying to draw a part of a combo, Secret Passage is going to take the cards out of your hand and give you 4 new cards, whereas this just adds to your existing hand.
That's true, and yeah, that's true.
Then you have Assassin's Blade, which is a 5 mana 3/4, is now going to be a 4 mana 2/5. So that's an interesting change.
This is a ridiculous buff to the card. The reason I say that is because there are a lot of cards in standard right now, will be when Year of the Griffin happens, that specifically buff the attack of the weapons.
Yeah.
So when you start dealing with what weapons do I want to put in my rogue deck to synergize with this weapon rogue style, you customarily want high durability cards. Self-sharpening sword has been used because it has 4 durability and then scales up as you attack. But I could see Assassin's Blade being a more consistent version and it going in that deck as well. The fact that it has 5 durability. 5 durability weapons are just so good. Anything 5 or more.
Yep.
I mean, the reason we like Jiraxis is because he comes with a 3/8 weapon.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about Jiraxis later. The fact that you have a 2/5 weapon that can have that novice that boost, that Sharpshot Oil cheat card, that's a 1 mana Sharpshot Oil basically. You have the minion that gives +2 attack while it's in play. Man, Assassin's Blade just went up in premium value to me. Sure, you're down 1 attack, but overall you're
going to do more damage.
You're doing 2 damage over 5 turns, which is 10 damage. 3 damage over 4 turns, which is 12 damage. So technically, it looks like a nerf in that aspect. But when you start factoring in the extra attack that you get from other buffs,
deadly poison,
adding a durability,
all that stuff,
then all of a sudden, exponentially, the value of Assassin's Blade goes through the roof.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Swashbuckler is back.
Yes.
So
this is probably my single most favorite rogue card in existence.
So Swashbuckler was a 1 mana 1/1, add a random card to your hand from your opponent's class. So now it's going to be a 1 mana 1/1, add a random card from another class to your hand.
So it's also important to note that any of these cards that are changing. Now, when I say changing, is meaning the text and the stats on the actual card coming to Core Set are changing. Those are going to be the new text and stats in Wild.
Yes.
Now, like we talked about with the dragons last week, they were given new names like Malagos and something at the end of it. Those are new cards replacing the old dragons with the same name.
Mm-hmm.
So in Wild, you'll have two different versions of those dragons to play with instead of a changed dragon. So if you play Swashbuckler in Wild now, to me, you could say this is a buff, especially if you're playing in a rogue mirror, because then you will get other classes outside the rogue class, which might synergize with a quest you're playing or any other cards along with it. So this is good change for both Wild and Standard.
Yeah, and then we have a change to Assassinate. It was a basic class card. It was 5 mana, destroy an enemy minion. It's now 4 mana, destroy an enemy minion.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense because cards like Polymorph, which is no longer in the core set, and Hex, which, spoiler, is still in the core set, are 4 mana, and that straight up transforms the minion. This one just destroys it, which might have other drawbacks with death rattles and things like that. So I think 5 mana was always too expensive, and at 4 mana, it's probably still not going to be worth playing over, say, a Coerce or something like that.
Yeah.
But for, again, somebody who's building the class out and is newer to the game, Assassin's going to be a good addition.
Yes, it is. All right. Next up, we have new to Rogue, Vanessa Van Cleef. We talked about this a little bit last week. 2 mana, 2/3 combo. Add a copy of the last card your opponent played to your hand.
So we talked about this last week, so we don't have to go in deep dive on this card. However, I do want to mention that Zacho on the Vicious Syndicate podcast, along with Ridiculous Hat, Zacho really thinks this is a gigantic nerf to Rogue, taking Van Cleef away and bringing him. Taking Edward Van Cleef away and bringing in Vanessa Van Cleef, that the Vanessa Van Cleef is not strong enough for what they're losing in Edwin going away. And I couldn't disagree with him more than anything. Now, me and Zach go play 2 totally different strategies of game, especially in Rogue. He likes a more aggressive, go-to-the-face style, and most Rogue players do. So most Rogue players are going to say this is probably a nerf to the class as a whole for Corset. However, I disagree, because anybody who's playing Rogue now has to think, what is the last thing I'm playing this turn, and will it kill me next turn?
Okay.
So if a Mage finishes with Fireball, now they have to think, am I going to get Fireballed next turn?
Right.
You know, if a Druid finishes with a heal spell or an armor gain spell, do I now have to worry about my
Them
opponent
gaining
playing
armor.
Vanessa Van Cleef and getting out of reach of my lethal?
Yeah.
So I think Vanessa Van Cleef doesn't go in an aggressive strategy, but it goes more in kind of a tempo Rogue. And I think she's even more tempo than Edwin was, and Edwin was in that deck. So I think Vanessa Van Cleef is going to be great. It's going to bring old school tempo Rogue back, and I think that's a plus.
Okay. Next up, we have Shaman, and we have some unchanged cards in Shaman. First up, we have Doomhammer. It's still going to be a 5 mana, 2/8 Wind Fury Overload 2 weapon. And we have the Manatide Totem remaining unchanged.
I'm surprised by Manatide Totem. I'm surprised Manatide Totem didn't get rotated out. But they are trying to push a more totem strategy, and there aren't a lot of totem cards in Core Set. So this kind of just fills that need.
Okay. Then we have remaining unchanged. We have Lightning Bolt. We have Menacing Nimbus.
Yeah, so Menacing Nimbus is going to be rotating out, and now we get to keep it.
Yeah, now it's remaining in the core set. We have Rockbiter Weapon, Wind Fury, Unbound Elemental, and Hex, all remaining unchanged in the Shaman class.
So Hex is the only polymorph effect in, technically, the transform effect, other than the missiles that both Mage and Shaman have access to. So there is no polymorph effect anymore, and Hex is one of those. Like, it was more versatile than polymorph because you could hex your own minion and get a taunt, which I've actually done that play and it's won me a game. So I am surprised by Wind Fury spell. I would have thought they would have gone with the minion that gives Wind Fury instead, because it kind of goes in line with power creep, a 4-mana 4/4 body that gives you an effect instead of just a 2-mana spell that maybe, I don't know, maybe it's an OTK type thing. They're saying in Shaman there might be, for 2 mana you can give something Wind Fury and now you'll have a combo effect. I want to say OTK, a large burst damage combo effect that might win you a game. So we'll just have to see what the next set is. They're making a lot of adjustments to Shaman, so that's going to be exciting.
Yeah. Now, looking at changed cards, we have the Shaman Legendary Alakir the Windlord. He used to be 8 mana, 3/5, charge, Divine Shield, taunt, Wind Fury. It's now going to be 8 mana, 3/6, charge, Divine Shield, taunt, Wind Fury. I mean, that 1 point of health could be the difference in, killing 2 minions versus only killing 1.
So yes,
or surviving attacking 2 minions, I should say.
So they kept the charge on there, which I was surprised, but they gave you more health, which is saying, hey, trade with this minion, don't go face.
Right.
So I don't know if I don't, if you're gonna go face with this, the health doesn't matter. But in a world where you use Alakir to trade and manage the board, I think by that point, 8 mana, you're wanting to win the game, not stall the game.
That's true.
So I don't know if this change is relevant. I think it's good. Obviously, it's a buff to the card, but I don't know if it's relevant.
Okay. Now, other changes. We have the Draenei Totem Carver. It was a 4 mana 4/4 battle cry, gain +1/+1 for each friendly totem. It's now a 4 mana 4/5 battle cry, gain +1/+1 for each friendly totem.
Yeah, they kind of had this thing with Shaman where they would go, let's build a Yeti, give it a cool effect, and based on the effect, we either take an attack away, or we take a health away, or we take both away. So yeah, like 4 mana 3/3 sometimes that did crazy stuff because they buff minions 3/3 or stuff like that. Well, with power creep the way it is, that's kind of old hat. They still do that to an extent, but at gain +1/+1 for each friendly totem, and really that's just your hero power because there's not a lot of printed totems anymore. You can have that on the Yeti stat, and it's not going to be overpowered.
Right. Then we have Lightning Storm. We talked about it last week. It used to be 3 mana, deal 2 to 3 damage to all enemies all enemy minions, overload 2. Now it's just a straight 3 mana, deal 3 damage to all enemy minions, overload 2.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. It's a good change.
Yeah. Then we have Feral Spirit. It was a 3 mana, summon 2/3 Spirit Wolves with taunt, overload 2. This is now 3 mana, summon 2/3 Spirit Wolves with taunt, overload 1.
Yep, another good change. We talked about this one last week.
And then we have Earth Elemental, which we talked about last week. 5 mana, 7/8 taunt, overload 3 is now going to be a 5 mana, 7/8 taunt, overload 2.
Yeah, this one might actually be playable in if Elemental Shaman is a thing.
Yeah,
I thought about it more since last week, and the biggest problem with that card was the overload, and overload 2 is doable.
Yep. Then we have a change to Tidal Surge. It was 4 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion, restore 4 health to your hero. Now it's 4 mana, Lifesteal, deal 4 damage to a minion. So they reduced the amount of words on the card by about 30%.
So in the past they've added Lifesteal, and they didn't retroactively change a lot of cards because it's really not going to change too much because if they happen to get spell power, you're just going to be out maybe 1 health. That's it. And it's not worth a change to them and invalidating the keyword being in that set, so forth and so on. But they're adding specific school spell damage. And this is a nature spell. So if it gets nature spell damage +3, that extra 3 damage not being lifesteal is a big deal. So that changed to lifesteal, where before it would have been 7 damage with +3 nature damage, and only 4 health restored. Now it's a full 7/7, evenly split. So or symmetrically tagged there. So
Right.
I think this is a very positive change, and it's great for control shaman.
Okay. Next up, we have Fire Elemental. It was a 6 mana, 6/5 battle cry, deal 3 damage. Now it's deal 4 damage.
Yeah, this is another one that they've kind of scaled based on at 6 mana, is 3 damage doing anything? And it's not. You want that 4 damage breakpoint at that 5/6 mana slot, and then when you get to 7, you need that 5 damage breakpoint. That's just kind of where you're at, because we saw Flame Strike. If you placed Flame Strike on 7 after this was in play, it wouldn't have killed it before, so now it does, and vice versa with other things for Fire Elemental. Also, thing to note, if you Fire Elemental against a Paladin with a secret up, you might lose your Fire Elemental because of that new secret they put out.
That's true.
So, I like it.
All right. And then we have a new Shaman card. I think we talked about this one last week too. Novice Zapper. 1 mana, 3/2, spell damage +1, overload 1.
Yeah, it really is just needed because they got rid of Wrath of Air Totem. And, essentially it's a 2 mana, 3/2, spell damage +1 when you factor in the overload. I see it more like 1.5 mana because that overload's delayed. But I think it's a good card.
Okay. Warlock. So, first up, we have Twisting Nether. It's an 8 mana spell. Of course, it's remaining unchanged, except it gets the shadow tag. And we have Tiny Knight of Evil coming back.
Which tells me they're going to be printing a lot more discard stuff.
Yeah.
The one thing to note about Twisting Nether, they kind of had to keep Twisting Nether in the meta because Ticketer's Warlock would almost break if you didn't have Twisting Nether.
Okay. Then also remaining unchanged, we have Flame Imp, Mortal Coil, Possessed Villager is back.
Yes.
No, it's not like this. It's like this.
Yeah.
And then we have Fiendish Circle. We have Hellfire and Dread Infernal.
Yes, all good cards to have come back and rotate in or stay in.
So now we have changed Warlock cards. First up,
this is probably the biggest change.
Lord Jiraxxus. He was a 9 mana, 3/15 demon with Battle Cry, destroy your hero and replace it with Lord Jiraxxus. He is no longer a minion. He is now a 9 mana hero card that gives 5 durability or 5 armor, and Battle Cry equip a 3/8 Blood Fury.
And this hero power is the same, 2 mana to summon a 6/6 demon. So the big drawback was setting yourself at 15 health, and then you could possibly be OTK'd at that point. And pretty much all you were doing that turn is playing Jiraxxus. So now you won't lose any of your health, and you're going to actually gain 5 health from the armor, which we've learned in the past with other hero cards is enough. Sometimes it's just enough to give you that 1 extra turn to take over the game. And then you're going to be able to pump out for 2 mana 6/6 demons and have the 3/8 weapon equipped. This is a huge change, and yeah, this is I'm super excited for this to happen because, man, my mind's blown, especially because Matt at Arms, who has decided he has done a legal name change and he will officially be called Jirax at Arms from now on.
Yep.
Or at least until he gets to play this card. He's really excited about this, and I can't blame him because this can just go into Warlock decks now. And remember, it's a 9 mana hero card. It will corrupt your other cards.
Yes, that's true.
So the fact that you will have a kind of a sustain card that can also build pressure as it goes on, that will corrupt your Ticketus, corrupt your cascading
so now
disaster.
Here's a question. Good. Lord Jiraxxus is no longer a demon top minion. If you play this, do you die to Sacrificial Pact?
Well, no. Well, first off, they changed Sacrificial Pact so you couldn't target an enemy anymore. It could only target a friendly demon. So that was fixed.
Okay.
The problem is if you decided to play Jiraxxus, become Jiraxxus, and you played anything that cast a random spell, which is very rare to do in Warlock, but I've actually gotten this card in Mage as a Mage and then played Jiraxxus, and then I had spells that would randomly cast. Now, fortunately, it never happened to me, but you could have hit Sacrificial Pact and targeted yourself.
Gotcha.
So that you are not a demon at that point.
Okay.
Now, on the other side, if you have this new Lord Jiraxxus hero card and you have something that puts a demon from your hand into play, there's no way to get a 3/15 demon. Some people would say that's a nerf to the card. I disagree, but that is something that can't be done anymore that you had versatile before. Now, of note, this isn't a new version of Lord Jiraxxus. This is the same card. So if you play this in Wild, you're going to have a new hero card. So you're not going to want to play this with like Gul'dan or anything like that, like you might have before. Some people would play it just to cheat it out to get a 3/15 from Gul'dan. I don't think those weren't the good decks, but they did that. You're not going to be able to do that anymore.
Yeah. All right. Also changed, we have Soften Soul. It was a 6 mana, destroy a minion, restore 3 health to your hero. It's now going to be 5 mana, destroy a minion, restore 3 health to your hero. So it's
in line.
Yeah.
In line to power creep.
Then we have Void Terror. It was a 3 mana, 3/3. Battle Cry, destroy both adjacent minions, gain their attack and health. It's now going to be a 3 mana, 3/4. Battle Cry, destroy both adjacent minions, gain their attack and health.
I don't think this buff does anything. However, having this card in the core set will, because you have some Death Rattle Warlock cards that you would love to destroy yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, look at the Merchant, the expired Merchant. I think it might be rotating though, but you could play that, discard cards, have whatever happen off that, play Void Terror. So that doesn't get silenced or taken from you or silenced Dark Moon or anything like that. So this is a positive to me.
Yeah. Then we have Lakari Fellhound. So it was a 4 mana, 3/8 taunt, battle cry, discard 2 random cards. Now it's 4 mana, 3/8 taunt, battle cry, discard your 2 lowest cost cards.
So I like this change that they're slowly doing across all of Warlock, where it's targeted draw. It's either drawing the 2 lowest, or it's drawing the 2 highest, or it's discarding the 2 highest, or it's discarding the leftmost, or it's targeted so you have more agency on what you think or know is going to be discarded. And if you don't, you at least narrowed it down to, well, I got a 50-50 shot to discard the card I want because they're both 1 cost, or something like that. So I like that they're keeping that in mind for future changes. Do I think Lakari Fellhound's good? No, but at least it gives me an idea when they put out more discard cards what to expect.
Yeah. And then we have Drain Soul. It was 2 mana, Lifesteal, deal 2 damage to a minion. It's now 2 mana, Lifesteal, deal 3 damage to a minion.
Again, power creep. I mean, most 2 damage spells do 3 damage. Look at Frostbolt. Look at, lots of spells. So this is just balancing.
Yeah. All right. New to Warlock, We have the Fell Soul Jailer. So this is an epic demon minion. 5 mana, 4/6. Battle Cry. Your opponent discards a minion. Death Rattle, return it.
Yeah, we talked about this last week because they showed it to us. I like this disruption. We haven't seen disruption like this before, where you're making your opponent discard something. So we'll see how it goes, and maybe they can print more in the future, depending how well it's received.
Mm-hmm. Then we have a new shadow rare spell, Ritual of Doom. 0 mana, destroy a friendly minion. If you had 5 or more, summon a 5/5 demon.
I'm not sure how to take this. So this kind of replaces Sacrificial Pact. But instead of getting health, you have the potential of getting a 5/5 demon, depending on your board state. If you have 5 minions on the board, you're probably ahead and you don't need the 5/5.
Mm-hmm.
But what I see this used for more is having a pivotal Death Rattle minion. And you play that Death Rattle minion, and then for 0 mana, you can then destroy that Death Rattle minion and get its effect to go off. So I was hopeful that we might get Sylvanas rotated back in, but when they told us only one Hall of Fame card was coming with Shadow Form, that kind of shot that hope. But maybe we'll see some kind of destroy a minion Death Rattle or something really iconic for a Death Rattle in either Warlock or Neutral that this card can be used with.
Okay, then we have Enslaved Fell Lord. So this is a common demon, 7 mana, 4/10. Taunt also damages the minions next to whomever this attacks. I feel
This
like
confuses me.
I feel like this is one of those that you're hoping to get off of a random summon and not necessarily putting in your deck.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But here's my thing with it is 7 mana, 4/10 taunt demon, great. I love it. But then also damages the minion next to whoever attacks. So you have to play this. It has taunt, so your opponent pretty much has to clear it before it does anything else. So the likelihood that it lives till next turn. Why didn't it have rush?
Yeah.
Maybe a lower health stat. So it's basically, if you play this and your opponent can't get through it, they're punished. So that would tell me your opponent's already behind and you're ahead. And then what does this really do for you? So I'm confused by this card.
Okay.
Maybe there's a way to give it rush and to kind of increase that benefit. But honestly, it's just bad.
Okay. Next,
I mean, again, it's core set, so bad cards
Right.
can exist.
Yeah. So next up, we have the Unchanged Warrior cards.
Yes.
So we have Gromosh Hellscream remaining unchanged. Gorehowl.
Charge. He has charge.
Oh yeah.
Let's
yeah.
make this note. He has charge. He's keeping charge, and he can still do 10 damage. And we're living in a world where Frenzy is going to exist in Forged in the Barrens, and you're going to have damage activators in your hand. So Gromosh is going to be yeah, Gromosh is going to be an auto include.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have Gorehowl, we have Brawl, we have Shield Slam, all pretty normal warrior stuff. Then we have Shield Maiden coming back.
Yes. I have been wanting Shield Maiden to stay in standard for so long. I don't know why they this is awesome. 6 mana, 5/5, gain 5 armor. If you don't remember this, I remember what set it was so long ago.
Yeah.
Was it TGT?
It might have been. I don't remember.
I think it was TGT. It was a long time ago. And I'm so glad that the one thing that Warriors lost over the last 2 years is that burst armor generation. Obviously, we had what was the 3 mana spell that gave you 5 armor and drew a card? So it looks like that's gone.
Yeah.
And this is replacing it so you get it's twice the cost for a 5/5. I'm down with it. I like it.
I'm trying to look and see if I could find what it was from originally, but anyway, Then we have Armor Smith remaining and Frothing Berserker remaining.
In a world where we don't have Risky Skipper, I think Armor Smith's just a good card. Armor Smith was broken with Risky Skipper, but without Risky Skipper, it's fine.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Fiery War Axe is remaining unchanged. And Whirlwind is remaining unchanged. Cruel Taskmaster is remaining unchanged. Slam and Execute.
Yep. I am surprised that we didn't get Whirlwind rotating out and bring in something like Warpath or something that was like a better Whirlwind. Mm-hmm. But maybe they were afraid with the Frenzy keyword coming in Forged in the Barrens that having too much good effects like Whirlwind would be a bad thing to have. And okay. I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah. New changes. Warrior, Warsong Commander, 3 mana 2/3. Your charge minions have +1 attack. Is now going to be a 3 mana 2/3. After you summon another minion, give it Rush.
This is the change it should have been.
Warsong Commander's back.
Warsong's Commander's back, and it's not bad. Basically, it's kind of like a reverse animated broomstick. Instead of playing the minions and playing animated broomstick, you play this and then play the other minions.
Mm-hmm.
So ETC can be done without using broomstick, but probably not as powerful because of the mana difference. So, yeah, it's good.
Yes, it is. All right, and to answer, it was Goblins versus Gnomes is where Shield Maiden came from.
Even older than TGT. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
All right. New warrior cards. War Cache. It is a rare spell, 3 mana, add a random warrior minion, spell, and weapon to your hand.
So this is like the hunter. It was like the hunter's pack.
Yeah.
That gave you a spell, a beast, and a weapon. So yeah, this is.
I like it.
This is good.
Then we have a new common minion, Warsong Outrider, 4 mana, 5/4, Rush.
Yeah, this replaces the 4 mana 4/3 charge, and so it just makes sense. Yeah, it's a nice card.
And then we have a new warrior pirate card, the Bloodsail Deckhand, 1 mana, 2/1, Battle Cry. The next weapon you play costs 1 less.
Yeah, and it's not this turn, so you could play this as just a turn 1 play, and it will benefit the next weapon you play. So that's good. We did see a lot of weapons in the core set, just 2, Gorehowl and Fiery War Axe in the core set. So we're really going to have to rely on Forged in the Barrens to kind of give us, because we don't have Arcanite Reaper or any of the other basic and classic weapons.
Right.
So it really depends on what Forged in the Barrens, but the fact that it's supposed to be in Barrens, we're probably going to see some weapons.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have neutrals. So, unchanged neutral legendaries. We have Blood Mage Thalnos, Brightwing, King Mukla, and Baron Rivendare.
Baron Rivendare is like the big one to me.
Yeah.
Because with Death Rattle synergies, Baron Rivendare was great. And they've kind of elaborated on Death Rattle over the years. And I think Baron Rivendare didn't really have it wasn't like top tier. It was kind of a meme deck because it really, they were kind of fleshing out how Death Rattles were back then. Well, they fleshed it out and have some powerful Death Rattles. And Baron Rivendare can probably go in just about any class that runs 5 to 7 Death Rattles in the deck.
Yeah. Next up, neutral epics that are remaining unchanged. We have South Sea Captain, Faceless Manipulator, and Clockwork Giant.
So we're going to expect to see some more pirates because there's not a lot of pirates in the core set. There's a few. Faceless Manipulator I'm surprised by because it kind of enabled a lot of combos in the past. And then Clockwork Giant, it's so Mountain Giant was a little overpowered because of how much you could control, how many cards were in your hand, and you just draw, and then drop these cheap Mountain Giants. Well, now you have to rely on your opponent having a lot of cards in their hands, so that's a little less able for you to control. Now, if you know you're going to be playing against a specific type of deck, maybe you tech in Clockwork Giants to have early 8/8s that just pressure your opponent. Yeah. So I like Clockwork Giant over Mountain Giant.
Okay. Then we have neutral rares remaining unchanged. We have the Murloc Tidecaller, the Young Priestess, the Acidic Swamp Ooze, Crazed Alchemist, Nerubian Egg, and Cold Light Seer.
Yeah, we need Murlocs. I mean, Murlocs are kind of the core neutral tribe. We need weapon destruction, so Swamp Ooze needs to be there. I don't know how often Crazed Alchemist is used. I'm surprised it's in there. But Nerubian Egg's a big one, especially a neutral death
especially rattle. With Baron Rivendare.
Baron Rivendare, the Warlock Sacrifice spell, just a lot of really good death rattle synergies. And I think Nerubian Egg just goes in there as a filler death rattle that you just want in the deck.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, more neutral rares remaining unchanged. Humongous Razor Leaf, Injured Blade Master, Lone Champion, SI7 Infiltrator, Violet Teacher, and Gadget Zan Auctioneer.
So let's go through this list. Humongous Razor Leaf, obviously they want to promote a Silence Priest. Injured Blade Master, that's for healing for Priest. Lone Champion's a big add because for a mid-range deck that kind of takes a bit to get started, you need something to stop that early aggressive, and Lone Champion's perfect. Then you have SI7 Infiltrator. Is this the first time we've had basically open available secret tech that's in a core set? We didn't have any in Classic and Basic. We had Flare for Hunter, but that was it.
That was about it.
And then Violet Teacher's good, and then Gadgets. I am surprised Gadget Zan Auctioneer is in the core set. It has been an enabler of so many bad archetypes that wreaked havoc in design space, and they nerfed it, and it was still played. I'm really surprised because they kept a lot of zero-cost spells for Rogue in the core set, and so we could see the old school Gadget Zan Auctioneer Tempo Rogue. Now, they won't have Edwin Van Cleef, so maybe that was the linchpin that caused that deck to be oppressive. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they were thinking. Without Edwin, they can keep Auctioneer. We'll see. I'm really surprised by that.
Yeah. All right. Also remaining unchanged in the neutral common space, we have Murloc Tiny Fin, Abusive Sergeant, Arcane Anomaly, Argent Squire, Cogmaster, Elven Archer, Voodoo Doctor, and Worgen Infiltrator.
So I love Murloc Tiny Fin, if nothing more than balancing Murloc generation or Murloc summoning. When your Margurgle Prime hits the board and he summons 4 Murloc Tiny Fins, just get a screenshot of that, send it to Trollden, because those are going to be the memories I want to remember. This is just good core common cards that I think you have a little stealth, you have some healing, you have some buffing, your Divine Shield, Argent Squire is going to be good in Paladin. Yeah, it's good.
All right. Also, remaining unchanged in the neutral common space, we have Annoyatron, Blood Cell Raider, Dire Wolf Alpha, Explosive Sheep, Cobalt Geomancer, Loot Hoarder, Mad Bomber, and Murloc Tidehunter.
Explosive Sheep surprises me because of Frenzy. Because it can be a Frenzy activator, say in Mage, if you have multiple Frenzies. and you want to activate them all, or even just as a mage board clear. Because if I'm not mistaken, they didn't keep Arcane Nova or whatever that was, Arcane Explosion.
Yeah.
So now they can play Explosive Sheep Ping, which is 4 mana.
Right.
I understand that, but that's 2 damage to all minions. So
yeah.
I didn't think Explosive Sheep would be good without Magnetic, and we'll just have to see if it can.
Okay. Also remaining unchanged in the neutral common space is River Crocolisk, Sunreaver Spy, Toxicologist, Youthful Brewmaster, Earthen Ring Farseer, Ice Rager, Ironbeak Owl, and Jungle Panther.
So Sunreaver Spy replaces Secret Keeper. So you don't have Secret Keeper anymore. So it's just a one-time buff. And Ice Rager replaces Magma Rager. So he got outraged. And then Ironbeak Owl is our lone neutral
silence
for the core set. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have also remaining unchanged Spider Tank, Stone Skin Basilisk, good old Chillwind Yeti, Dark Iron Dwarf, Grim Necromancer, Sinjin Shieldmaster, Stranglethorn Tiger, Stormwatcher, and Sleepy Dragon.
So everybody is always referring to 3 mana 3/4 as spider tanks, and anybody who's played in the last 2 years has no clue what they're talking about. So they finally put that reference in the core set, and I love them for it. They obviously had Chillwind Yeti there and keeping him there. I think Stone Skin Basilisk is the one that's sneaky good, because I think Beast Hunter is going to be a thing, and having a poisonous beast with Divine Shield might be what it needs to keep that sustained to turn 7 or turn 8 where it turns on.
Okay.
All right, changes.
All right. Neutral legendaries that have been changed. First up, Cairn Bloodhoof. He was a 6 mana 4/5 Death Rattle, summon a 4/5 Bane Bloodhoof. Well, now he's a 6 mana 5/5 Death Rattle, summon a 5/5 Bane Bloodhoof.
Yeah, this is just, a 6 mana 4/5. That's way worse than a Yeti. 6 mana 5/5 is not great, but a 6 mana 5/5 that creates another 5/5 that's 10/10 in stats. That's better than 8/10 in stats, and more in line with the current meta.
Yeah. Then we have High Inquisitor Whitemane. She was a 7 mana 6/8 Battlecry, summon all friendly minions that died this turn. She's now going to be a 6 mana 5/7 Battlecry, summon all friendly minions that died this turn.
Makes a little sense. Gives a little room on turn 10 to do something. You usually don't keep minions a full turn for this to get much benefit. With the Death Rattle kind of synergies that we're seeing with Rivendare and Nerubian Exen and Cairn Bloodhoof, and we don't know what else in Barrens, a High Inquisitor Whitemane might be a decent inclusion to kind of trade your board off and then get your board back. Mm-hmm. And any Death Rattle effects that go off, and then you get them back on the board. So, again, probably a win more card, because if you have a board from the previous turn to be able to play her, you're probably going to win anyways.
Yeah. All right, then we have Baron Geddon. So Baron Geddon was a 7 mana 7/5 elemental. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all other characters. He's now a 7 mana 7/7 elemental. At the end of your turn, deal 2 damage to all other characters. So he got a little tougher to get rid of.
Well, it's important to note that I think this change was specifically because they changed Flamestrike to 5 damage, and they don't want Flamestrike to kill Baron Rivendare.
That makes sense.
Because it's a legendary. It's a big legendary made of fire. And for them to go, oh, Baron Geddon, get rid of your small board, and then just go Flamestrike instead, that takes the wind out of your sails. So also, they made some changes to allow the damage to go up more. And you don't want him easily dealt with. I think he's a really good inclusion now.
Yeah. Okay. Epic neutrals that have been changed. Mini Mage was a 4 mana 4/1 stealth spell damage +1. He's now a 3 mana 3/1 stealth spell damage +1. Do you think this makes any difference?
Yes, and I think the main reason is because of primordial studies. You do not want people to get a 3-mana 4/1 stealth poisonous stealth spell damage minion off of primordial studies. It feels better to get a 2-mana 3/1 stealth spell damage +1 off of primordial studies, because primordial studies reduces the cost of the next spell damage
minion. Yeah.
So I think this specific change was make it a little cheaper, make it a little weaker in the attack, which really doesn't matter, and of course cheaper in the mana, so that it feels better getting off of primordial studies.
Okay.
Because if it was 4 mana, I didn't care if it was a 4/1 or not, or if it was 4 mana, it'd almost be a dead third choice off that discover every time.
Okay. Then we have Big Game Hunter. Used to be 5 mana 4/2 battle cry, destroy a minion with 7 or more attack. Now it's a 4 mana 4/2 battle cry, destroy a minion with 7 or more attack. Gee, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, I mean, they took away the nerf that they gave it, so
they returned it to what it used to be.
That just means Big Game Hunter was before its time.
Yeah.
And now its time is here. Maybe it was a card that was meant to be printed in Year of the Griffin. So I think it's a fine change.
Yeah. Then we have Baron's Stable Hand. 7 mana 4/4 battlecry, summon a random beast. Is now going to be a 7 mana 5/5 battlecry, summon a random beast.
This is another one I had to look up and was surprised that it was actually a card. I was like, oh, a new card. Wait, no, that's not new.
Yeah.
There's 2 copies of it in the collection manager.
Okay. Then we have Defender of Argus, neutral rare change. It was a 4 mana 2/3. Give adjacent minions +1/+1 in taunt. It's now going to be a 4 mana 3/3.
Yeah. I mean, is it playable? Maybe in a Dude Paladin now. But I think it probably would have been playable in a Dude Paladin at a 2/3.
Yeah.
With the stuff that they're putting in. So I don't know if the 3/3 really matters that much. It was getting protected by what it buffed anyways. So it's a positive change, obviously. But I don't know how impactful it's going to be.
Okay. Then we have Arcane Devourer. It was an 8 mana 5/5. Whenever you cast a spell, gain +2/+2. It's now going to be an 8 mana 4/8. Whenever you cast a spell, gain +2/+2.
So when they printed this card the first time, I was like, it's just going to be killed. No, you don't have enough mana to buff this the turn you put it into play, and then it's just going to die because it doesn't have enough health. And I think I remember saying at the time I wanted to at least be like a 4/6 or a 3/7 or something like that. And so 4/8 just sounds right.
Okay. Now, neutral commons that have been changed. Stone Tusk Boar. 1 mana 1/1 charge. Now 1 mana 2/1 rush.
Yeah, these. So when I first glanced at these, I was like, oh, okay, charge goes to rush, charge goes to rush. As we'll see in the next card, we'll go ahead and read it. A Bluegill Warrior, 2 mana 2/1 charge, changed Murloc. Changed to 2 mana 3/1 rush Murloc. So when I was copy pasting, I was like, wait a minute, the attacks are different. And then that made me go, wow, this is actually a good change. Now, Stone Tusk Boar enabled a lot of combos, being that it was a 1 mana charge minion. Who cared what the attack was?
Right.
Because you just find a way to beef it up or buff it up. Bluegill wasn't as bad, but when you pulled it off random generation of Murlocs on the board, sometimes it was buffed by 2, sometimes 3 war leaders, and there was a lot of damage going to face. Now that it's rush, it's better. I'm gonna love to get this off of McGurgle Prime. I mean, I would have loved it better with charge, but now it's a 3/1 rush. It's gonna trade into something and have Divine Shield. That's good. It's better than trading into something with 2 attack.
Okay. Next up, we have the Flesh Eating Ghoul. It's a 3 mana 2/3. Whenever a minion dies, gain +1 attack. It's now going to be a 3 mana 3/3. Whenever a minion dies, gain +1 attack.
Yeah, probably won't see it outside of your early game of playing. Before you get a collection. Yeah. It'll be good then, though.
Raid Leader. was a 3-mana 2/2 whenever your other minions have +1 attack. It's now going to be a 3-mana 2/3. Your other minions have +1 attack.
Yep, good change.
Next up, neutral, still in the neutral common space, Gurubashi Berserker was a 5-mana 2/7. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain +3 attack. It's now going to be a 5-mana 2/8. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain +3 attack.
Yeah, I mean, it's just as bad or good, however you look at it, as it was before. I don't think the 1 health changes much. I think it needs like 10 health for it to be viable.
Okay. Then you have Stormwind Champion. It was a 7-mana 6/6. Your other minions have +1/+1. It's now going to be a 7-mana 7/7. Your other minions have +1/+1.
Not bad for a static effect.
So, new neutral legendary minions, or legendary cards. So, first up, we talked about this last week. Overlord Runtalk, 5-mana 3/6 rush. Whenever this attacks, give a +1/+1 to all minions in your hand.
Yep.
Then we have Talon Fordring, 5-mana 3/3 taunt, divine shield, death rattle. Draw your highest cost minion.
So I love the flavor of this because if he dies, he draws Tyrion Fordring. If you know a little bit about the lore of the Fordrings, that makes a little sense in a way.
Okay.
Also, it's a neutral card, so that Mage legendary before, this is part of that theoretical combo where you have that die, and then you play this, and hopefully it dies before you can draw, and it will draw your Circus Clown, which then gets a buff. The fact that they're both death rattles makes it very difficult. You'd have to find a way to kill this off with it having Divine Shield. But it makes that theoretical combo possible. Anything that has Taunt and Divine Shield is just good.
Yeah.
Especially in Paladin.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see this legendary played. And if you're kind of tentative, like, do I want to craft a legendary to test out this stuff? These legendaries are free as long as you get a total of 60 levels across 10 classes.
Yeah.
Which is easy to get. You can do that in like 2 days of play.
Exactly. Next up, we have Nozdormu the Eternal. It's a 7-mana 8/8 dragon. Start of game. If this is in both players' decks, turns are only 15 seconds long. I'm just going to say I think this card is neat. I wouldn't want to say anything about this card that might get me into an argument on the internet with someone that I respect. So I'm just going to say, neat card. That's all.
So I will say stuff that'll get me in an argument. I think I've proven that. This is a card that deserves to be talked about. So this replaced the old. This replaces in Core Set the old Nozdormu that just immediately set time limit to 15 seconds until it was removed from the board. So that's still playable in Wild. So this card isn't being changed to that, or that card's not being changed to this. So you can play both of these in Wild. But in Standard, basically what this says is this gives a green light to have shenanigans. And if your opponent doesn't also say, hey, I also want shenanigans, then all you have is a 7-mana 8/8. Now, some people will say that, wow, if your opponent doesn't play this, then you get a 7-mana 8/8, and they can't have a 7-mana 8/8 unless they want 15 seconds to their turn. Well, yeah, but a 7-mana 8/8 in the current meta isn't that great. It's good, but it's not amazing. Now, also, if you do play in a tournament and put this in your deck, your opponent would have to play with this for it to disrupt them. So I think this is a clever way. Cora posted that she was excited about this change. I like this change. If you have problems with 15-second turn limits, just don't play this card, and it will never happen to you.
That's very
also,
true.
In my opinion, in a controlled environment like a community tournament or a fireside gathering where you have all of the players and you know your player base well enough to know this isn't going to disrupt anybody with with the way they play or disabilities or anything like that, this is a fun mechanic to play with. Now, obviously, people throwing those events need to make sure they have their player base in mind and make sure they're not causing problems. But with that in mind, this is a very entertaining card that if any of our Hero Power community in the Discord or on Twitter wanted to have a small little tournament where everybody was agreed that they would put this in their deck, I wouldn't be opposed to it because that sounds fun. Yeah. Now, I would hate to see this in a competitive thing like Masters Tour or Grandmasters, but I don't think we will.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, we have Alexstrasza the Lifebinder. She's a 9-mana 8/8 battle cry. Choose a character. If it's friendly, restore 8 health. If it's an enemy, deal 8 damage.
So I've had some arguments with people. I think it was Mad at Arms. I could be wrong. There's somebody in our community that basically this is a nerf to the card because it used to be able to do 15 damage and now it only does 8 damage. And in my opinion, I disagree with that. Sure, there were situations where you could do 15 damage, but most of the time you weren't doing 15. And if you got your opponent below 15, you couldn't play it.
So here's the thing. You were not doing 15 damage. You were setting 15 life. This is completely different.
In my opinion, in a combo deck where you're taking them from 30 to 15 with Alexstrasza and you're never doing damage ahead of time, that wasn't a top tier combo deck.
Right.
They had a low variance win rate. Usually it was a Malagos deck, and mind you, the Malagos as we remember it is no longer in standard, so you're not going to have that. This here, this can get lethal. The old Alexstrasza couldn't get lethal.
Yeah.
This also can heal you when you're above 15 health or at 15 health. Before, you wouldn't get 8 health worth of healing unless you were at or below 7 health. And at that point, you're probably losing anyways.
Yeah.
And with this one, you could be at like 14 health and still get the 8 healing. And it's so much more versatile. You can actually target minions with this. You couldn't target minions before. So you can heal your minions. You can destroy a minion. You can hit your opponent's face. You can heal your face. So the versatility in this card now, I wouldn't be surprised if Alexstrasza's put in just every dragon-based deck that exists.
Yeah, yeah.
If it's a dragon base and that dragon tag matters, I put Alexstrasza in there. A as an activator and a source of damage or healing, whichever way I want to go with it. Great card. Okay. This is probably one of the best changes to the dragons that I've seen.
Yeah, then we have Onyxia the Broodmother, 9 mana, 8/8. At the end of each turn, fill your board with 1/1 whelps. So previously, the old version of Onyxia just summoned a board full of 1/1 whelps.
This is, what is that 7 mana 1/7? Dexter memes on the card all the time. I think he was going to get a tattoo of it or did get a tattoo of it.
Oh, I don't know.
But it was a 1/7. At the end of your turn, it filled the board with 1/1 tentacles.
Oh, okay.
So you had to deal with it. So
yeah,
a 9 mana 8/8 that does this is pretty big. I don't know how impactful it's going to be because at 9 mana, that's all you're doing that turn. You're not impacting the board, and you don't have people. I heard somebody say, "Oh my gosh, you play this with Anime Broomstick." No, they don't summon till the end of your turn, and you're not going to have room for Anime Broomstick.
Right. So
you won't get a bunch of 1/1s with Rush because it doesn't summon until the end of the turn.
So then we have Ysera the Dreamer, 9 mana, 4/12, battle cry. Add one of each dream card to your hand.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, and they're changing the dream cards a bit. I think it'll be good. I don't know how overpowered it'll be, but it'll be a good. They got some good dragons. These dragons are aspects like we wanted them to be.
Yeah. Then we have Deathwing the Destroyer. We talked about this last week. 10 mana 12/12 battle cry, destroy all other minions, discard a card for each destroyed. So you might not have to discard your entire hand now.
Or not at all if you
Or
put it
not
on
at
an
all,
empty.
yeah. Then we have Malagos the Spellweaver, 9 mana 4/12 battle cry, draw spells until your hand is full.
And I believe we did get it confirmed. It does draw from your deck, so you can. People are saying you could use this specifically to draw your Cthulhu spells. If you're a spell light deck and you pretty much just have the Cthulhu spells, you could use this to draw your Cthulhu spells. It's good. I'm sure it'll be in specific targeted draw decks.
All right, then we have a new neutral rare, Fog Sail Freebooter. 2 mana 2/2 battle cry. If you have a weapon equipped, deal 2 damage.
Yeah, it's a new pirate. Kind of fills in the pirate gaps, and it's likely going to be used in rogue and or warrior, which uses weapons.
Yep.
Where I worry this will be good is a demon hunter, because a 2 damage ping, is a lot in a class that already does a lot of damage.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. And that's it.
There are no new epics, and there's no new comments. So that is it. We made it. 2 hours.
Right at about 2 hours. Woo!
Told you. We zipped through it.
All right. So that's the new core set coming to Hearthstone. Available free to all players if you have all the classes unlocked. So
I do want to make a note after seeing all of the cards. What do you think of the power level of the core set in comparison to basic and classic?
I think it's a little bit better. I like a lot of the changes that they've made, especially as we talked about to cards like why am I drawing blanks now? Tell you, especially in regards to like cards like Flame Strike, that additional point of damage, I think, is going to be good. I like the change to lock and load. There's a lot of things.
Lock and load.
there are a lot of things I really like about the new core set, and I'm excited to take it for a spin in the new standard environment. Standard's going to be a whole new world.
It is, because not only are we getting a rotation with and a 4th set to add on to the previous year, we're also getting a whole new core set. So our base building blocks that we would always be like, okay, we're going to start with these. I'm playing this class. This is our base building blocks in classic and basic. And then we start filling in the gaps and start cutting the classic and basic cards as we start needing space. Well, now we're going to be learning these new core set cards on top of how Year of the Phoenix works with this new set coming in Year of the Griffin. So I don't think we're going to have a lot of day one, like, this is the meta, like we've thought about.
Right.
The one thing I like about this that I disliked about Basic and Classic is there were a lot of dead cards in Basic and Classic. Holy Wrath, except during a small section of sets, was a dead card. And every class had dead cards like that. And you don't really... There are some that are not the most useful that are going to be replaced by set cards, which is the way a core set should be. You play with that card until you get a card of a similar type, similar effect, and then you replace it with that. I am excited for core set. I think it's going to be a positive, not only for veteran players, but more so for your returning players and new players. Yeah. So, good change, Blizzard. We're seeing the economy of the game change, especially with the Battle Pass. To be more positive, in my opinion.
Yep.
And this is another change economy-wise, where all you have to do is play the game to get these cards. You don't have to buy them with gold or dust or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so as a whole, the core set is an A+ for me. I can't wait to see how the cards actually play together with the new cards. And I'm excited to see Forge of the Barons, which we should start seeing next week. And I can't wait to talk about those cards.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Hit that subscribe button below on YouTube if you've not done so already. And check that little bell notification so that you get alerts whenever our new videos show up. For more details about our patron-only Discord, where we are talking Hearthstone, you can come over to patreon.com/heropower and join for as little as $1 a month. Until next week.
Don't forget to use your hero power as many times as you want with Koldara Drake.